Hello class, happy Monday. It is Monday, March 30th, and I'm going to read to you the last part of the Twits. I hope you guys are all doing well. In the next day or two, I'm going to send you guys all a link to something called Google Meet, and I'll tell your parents how to do it too and everything, and we're all going to be able to talk to each other, one at a time of course. It's going to be a little bit different than being in the same room, but it's the best we can do right now. But I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is listening to their parents. I know this is a hard time for you as well as your parents. Make sure you're listening to them. A lot of things that are going on that don't normally go on. For example, I think I've told you this before, my wife, Mrs. Fenn, she's working downstairs right now, and my three boys, they're all doing online stuff with their high school, so it's just a different time. We all have to try to be patient with each other and to get along. All right, here is the last part of the Twits. And if you will recall, the Muggle-Wump family has escaped with the help of the Roly-Poly Bird, and they went to go get some supplies like paintbrushes and hug-tight sticky glue. Muggle-Wump has said that we're going to turn both Mr. and Mrs. Twit upside down with their legs in the air. And they've all broken into the house now. And the next chapter is called The Great Glue Painting Begins. This is the living room, announced Muggle-Wump. The grand and glorious living room where those two fearful, frumptious freaks eat bird pie every week for supper. Please, don't mention bird pie again, said the Roly-Poly Bird. It gives me the shudders. We mustn't waste time, cried Muggle-Wump. Hurry up, hurry up. Now, the first thing is this. I want everyone to paint sticky glue all over the ceiling. Cover it all. Smear it in every corner. Over the ceiling, they cried. Why the ceiling? Never mind why, shouted Muggle-Wump. Just do as you're told and don't argue. But how do we get up there? They asked. We can't reach. Monkeys can reach anywhere, shouted Muggle-Wump. He was in a frenzy of excitement now, waving his paintbrush and his bucket and leaping about all over the room. Come on, come on. Jump on the table, stand on the chairs, hop on each other's shoulders. Roly-Poly can do it flying. Don't stand there gaping. We have to hurry. Don't you understand that? Those terrible Twits will be back any moment, and this time they'll have guns. Get on with it, for heaven's sake. Get on with it. And so the great glue painting of the ceiling began. All the other birds who had been sitting on the roof flew in to help, carrying paintbrushes in their claws and beaks. There were buzzards, wild ducks, woodpeckers, magpies, rooks, ravens, and many more. Everyone was splashing away like mad, and with so many helpers, the job was soon finished. The next section is called The Carpet Goes on the Ceiling. What now? They all said, looking at Muggle-Wump. Aha! Cried Muggle-Wump. Now for the fun. Now for the greatest upside-down trick of all time. Are you ready? We're ready, said the monkeys. We're ready, said the birds. Pull out the carpet, shouted Muggle-Wump. Pull this huge carpet out from under the furniture and stick it onto the ceiling. Onto the ceiling? Cried one of the small monkeys. But that's impossible, Dad. I'll stick you onto the ceiling if you don't shut up, snapped Muggle-Wump. He's dotty, they cried. He's balmy, he's batty, he's nutty, he's screwy, he's wacky, cried the Roly-Poly Bird. Poor old Muggles has gone off his wump at last. Oh, do stop shouting such rubbish and give me a hand, said Muggle-Wump, catching hold of one corner of the carpet. Pull, you nitwits, pull. The carpet was enormous. It covered the entire floor from wall to wall. It had a red and gold pattern on it. It is not easy to pull an enormous carpet off the floor when the room is full of tables and chairs. "Pull!" yelled Mugglewump. "Pull, pull, pull!" He was like a demon, hopping around the room and telling everyone what to do. But you couldn't blame him. After months and months of standing on his head with his family, he couldn't wait for the time when the terrible Twits would be doing the same thing. At least that's what he hoped. With the monkeys and the birds all pulling and puffing, the carpet was dragged off the floor and finally hoisted up onto the ceiling. And there it stuck. All at once, the whole ceiling of the living room was carpeted in red and gold. Next section's called The Furniture Goes Up. "Now the table, the big table," shouted Mugglewump. "Turn the table upside down and put a dollop of sticky glue onto the bottom of each leg. Then we shall stick that onto the ceiling as well." Hoisting the huge table upside down onto the ceiling was not an easy job, but they managed it in the end. "Will it stay up there?" they cried. "Is the glue strong enough to hold it up?" "It's the strongest glue in the world," Mugglewump replied. "It's the special bird-catching, bird-killing glue that's for smearing on trees." "Please," said the roly-poly bird, "I have asked you before not to mention that subject. How would you feel if it was monkey pie they made every Wednesday and all your friends had been boiled up, and I went on talking about it?" "I do beg your pardon," said Mugglewump. "I'm so excited I hardly know what I'm saying. Now the chairs. Do the same with the chairs. All the chairs must be stuck upside down to the ceiling and in their right places. Oh, do hurry up, everybody. Any moment now those two filthy freaks are going to come rushing in with their guns." The monkeys, with the birds helping them, put glue on the bottom of each chair leg and hoisted them up to the ceiling. "Now the smaller table," shouted Mugglewump, "and the big sofa, and the sideboard, and the lamps, and all the tiny little things, the ashtrays, the ornaments, and that beastly plastic gnome on the sideboard. Everything, absolutely everything, must be stuck to the ceiling." It was terribly hard work. It was especially difficult to stick everything onto the ceiling in exactly its right place, but they got it done in the end. "What now?" asked the roly-poly bird. He was out of breath and so tired he could hardly flap his wings. "Now the pictures," cried Mugglewump. "Turn all the pictures upside down. And will one of you birds please fly out onto the road and watch to see when those frumptious freaks are coming back?" "I'll go," said the roly-poly bird. "I'll sit on the telephone wires and keep guard. It'll give me a rest." The ravens swoop over. They had only just finished the job when the roly-poly bird came swooping in, screaming, "They're coming back! They're coming back!" Quickly the birds flew back onto the roof of the house. The monkeys rushed into their cage and stood upside down, one on top of the other. A moment later, Mr. and Mrs. Twit came marching into the garden, each carrying a fearsome-looking gun. "I'm glad to see those monkeys are still upside down," said Mr. Twit. "They're too stupid to do anything else," said Mrs. Twit. "Hey, look at all those cheeky birds still up there on the roof. Let's go inside and load our lovely new guns, and then it'll be bang, 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 and bird pie for supper." Just as Mr. and Mrs. Twit were about to enter the house, two black ravens swooped low over their heads. Each bird carried a paintbrush in its claw, and each paintbrush was smeared with sticky glue. As the ravens whizzed over, they brushed a streak of sticky glue onto the tops of Mr. and Mrs. Twit's head. They did it with the lightest touch, but even so the Twits both felt it. "What was that?" cried Mrs. Twit. "Some beastly bird has dropped his dirty droppings on my head." "On mine too," shouted Mr. Twit. "I felt it, I felt it." "Don't touch it," cried Mrs. Twit. "You'll get it all over your hands. Come inside and we'll wash it off at the sink." "The filsome dirty brutes," yelled Mr. Twit. "I'll bet they did it on purpose. Just wait till I've loaded up my gun." Mrs. Twit got the key from under the doormat where Muggle Wump had carefully replaced it, and into the house they went.